Welcome to A Talk with Armani.
I am your host, Armani-Iman.
This is the show that takes you behind the scenes and in front of the screen of all different types of productions. Whether it's a feature film, a brand new TV show, or writing a book, I introduce you to those powerhouses that make those productions work. Make sure you stay tuned as I bring to you my first guest. Welcome to A Talk with Armani. I am your host, Armani-Iman. Spring is here, so I'm excited to bring to you new guests and new challenges and new things. So make sure you stay tuned as I bring to you my first guest. I'll be right back. You're watching A Talk with Armani. Welcome to A Talk with Armani. So, of course, if you follow my show, if you've been to my website, you know that I like to bring you people from behind the scene and in front of the screen. I like to bring people to you that have stories that are inspirational and encouraging, and that we can kind of take something from it as we go on our journey in life. So I was very pleased when I got the biography of my next guest, because her journey is one that is amazing and is also inspirational. Please help me welcome Miss Toneshia.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm great.
Did I say your name right?
Yes.
Oh, because I mess his names up. I mean, I will mess a name up. If your name not John or Jack or Jill, if it has another syllable in it, I'm done.
Right.
You know, which is crazy because mine is Armani, and I'm like, how did you mess that up? But no, a name, I can't get a name right.
You did very well.
Well, thank you so very much.
You're
so that's
welcome.
2 stars for me. So how are you doing today?
I'm well.
Okay.
Excited.
I mean, you look fabulous.
Thank you.
You've had some trials and tribulations that we have to say God is good about.
And thank God I don't look like what I've been through.
Absolutely. Because,
Yes.
I mean, you know, of course, when we go through and we get a guest and we're talking to the guest and we're looking at their paperwork and stuff and they send over pictures and I'm like, wait a minute, this lady was in a horrific car accident.
Yes.
Wow. Like, is it
Yes.
painful to talk about it?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I do get a little emotional about it, but that's just only because I just thank God I made it out. So it's not tears of pain, it's of joy.
So what was the circumstances that led up to that? Like, what happened? Was it bad outside? Like, what took?
Actually, I was coming down Highway 78 and I was trying to avoid another car accident.
Wow.
That was in front of me. However, I could not see it because at that time I thought it was fog.
Okay.
But on the police report, it was smoke. It had literally just happened that there was a car sitting on its side with the undercarriage facing me. And by the time I broke through the smoke, all I had was a time to react. And thank God I was able to swerve around the vehicle instead of T-boning it, because then I probably wouldn't have made it at all.
Absolutely. So God is good. I mean, He really took in the direction. He took the wheel at that point.
He sure did.
So when you think about your life, do you have life before the accident and life after the accident? Or do you think you just kind of went through the accident and just continued on with what you were already doing?
I had no life before the accident.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I was in an abusive relationship before the accident, which the accident, with all my injuries, has taught me to protect myself.
Absolutely.
And that's what made me change. That's what made me change mentally, spiritually, and that's when I was like, okay, we're not gonna do this no more.
Absolutely, because you know, you in a situation where death was there.
Right.
Death was right there.
Right.
I'm not fit to let you almost halfway kill me whenever you get mad.
Right. And it was
So-
already bad enough that during the whole 9 surgeries, I just been surgery free 2017 of November. So,
Oh my gracious.
whew, yes.
Yeah, thank God.
Yes. So that was just a major blessing into my life. And, you know, just going through all those surgeries, that was my 10th one at that time. and I was still being emotionally abused.
Wow.
So that really, just looking back on it, just shows me, man, I am strong.
You're strong, and and they're weak. I think that those are bullies. You know what I mean? And I think that now we've come to be able to classify them for who they are.
Right.
They are bullies, and we know that bullies are people who have different types of issues, whether or not it's low self-esteem, jealousy, envy. I think anybody that abuses someone, whether or not it's emotionally or physically or mentally, you're a bully, because whatever it is they have, you want, and you can't get it.
Right.
So I think that, even though, he spit upon his name, for doing whatever was going on. The Joker. Spit upon his name, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, thank you, because now I know that for a fact that I'm not only somebody, but I'm somebody special.
Yes.
Because you went through a lot to try to make me believe otherwise.
Right.
So thank you for that validation.
Yes.
And, and it's God. He shows us things, and I think, the accident, just thinking about the accident and you going through that while you were going through that, that might have also been God's way of showing you, like, this is what terror is. You know what I mean? This is what near-death experiences is.
Yes.
You could not avoid that.
Right.
You could not help that.
Right.
This here mess you in, you can help.
You can
go on
help.
and get out of it.
You don't believe you can help
Right.
yourself,
But
but
you
you can.
And then
Only you can get yourself out of it.
yeah, because our friends come and say all kinds of
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
and whatnot,
But you know what I've learned, and that's what makes me want to help women in domestic violence relationships so much, is that it's easier to have a friend that has been through it rather
Absolutely.
than somebody who has not.
because they have no idea.
They have no idea.
Because they tell you, like I would say, just leave.
Right.
It's
not that
and
easy.
it's really not that easy.
You're in a sunken place. Your mind is gone.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's physical or emotional or
Emotional's
mental.
the worst.
Yeah, emotional, exactly, because you're there, and because I have been in an emotional, abusive relationship, and because of that, it makes you think. Because when you look back on it, and then I don't know what it was that made you think that your abuse is different from getting a black eye or a punched in the mouth or
It's all
whatever.
the same.
But it's worse, really, because that thinking of, that constant battering and that constant fighting and that constant bullying, it plays on your head. It makes you think that maybe you're not who you think you are.
Right.
And it really does take to come from a strength that you don't even realize exists.
Yes.
To pull you out of it.
Yes.
And which leads you into your bodybuilding. I mean, oh my gracious, look at you.
Goodness, I don't know
You're
where that came from.
Wait a minute, I'm getting ready to start lifting and benching and pressing.
Yes, with injuries at that.
Oh,
I have a
wow.
hand injury, so I'm only gripping. This is my grip.
Okay.
So I don't know where I got, it's crazy that I've learned that while becoming spiritually rich is that it's not what you want in life.
Absolutely.
It's what God wants you to do in life.
Definitely.
That is where you're supposed to be. That's the path that you're supposed to follow. And that's what makes life great.
Absolutely.
That's what's making my life so surreal right now, because I'm doing everything that's in His will, not in mine. I tried that. Clearly it didn't work.
Didn't work. Absolutely.
Right. So I'm like, okay, Lord, you want me to lift? All right, I'm lifting, and it just made me even more stronger. I feel like
Because your self-confidence is building. Well, listen, we've got video of you lifting and in your competition, so let's take a look at it, okay?
Yes, ma'am, Nisha. Work it. Come on, 3 or 4. That's right. Take back your power, girl. Hold it. Slow it down. Nice.
You can see, if you're able to compete in those competitions, you're able to do those things, you can see how your self-esteem will continue to build upon.
Yes.
And you know what? When we come back, 'cause we have to take a short break,
Okay.
we're going to talk about some other things that you're doing, your motivational speaking,
Yes.
as well as this new venture that you have.
Yes.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
You're watching A Talk with Armani.
Welcome back to A Talk with Armani. So I am sitting here with the very encouraging and strong Miss Toneshia, who is telling us about her story and the different things that has gotten her to today.
Yes.
So you've got the bodybuilding. You said that was just something that you just started doing, and
Yes.
you know it's helping you with your self-esteem. But you're also sharing your story.
Yes. I always wanted to know what my purpose was.
Okay.
Why was I able to survive such a torturous relationship? Because that's where I actually thought, that's how I thought I was gonna die, by his hands, because that's how bad I was beaten. And then I get into this car accident where I flip over 10 times and I landed on all 4 wheels, and I'm getting through, jumping through all these hurdles, you know, successfully with my injuries. It's like, okay, Lord, you got my attention. What you want me to do?
Yeah, exactly.
And at first I couldn't hear him. And the closer I got to being spiritually rich through a good friend of mine, he's a pastor, I started to hear him, and he said, I need you to open your mouth. That's all I kept hearing was, open your mouth. I need you to speak. I need you to share what I have done for you. And when I started speaking, blessings just started flowing through. That's like, this such is an amazing thing, is when you can touch other women, even men, you know, because they still see your strength, that they can do it, you know. And I just want women to know that there's life after abuse.
Absolutely, it definitely is.
Yes.
It definitely is. You can go on. Well, as like I said, when somebody has a story and they share that story and they keep, the encouragement is not only in the words, but seeing how strong you are to get up and utter them.
Yes.
You know, I think that regardless of what you've said, even though that's your story and it's very important, but the fact that you're able to get up and you're able to say, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. And I'm not judging you guys for what's going on with you, but this is what happened to me.
And it's not easy to speak it.
And it's not easy to speak it because
Not
you're
at
probably
all.
flashbacking at it, and then you're thinking about all the times where you could have ran, but you didn't. And
Not even that, but Joker gonna see that you opening your mouth.
Right.
You know, you go back into that fear.
Right.
You know, but then when I realized that I don't fear nobody but the Lord,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna let him handle him.
Exactly.
You know?
And then you can strip some of his power from him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So before I let you go,
Okay.
you've got Diamond Minks.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me
Yes.
about that.
So I'm the owner of Diamond Mink Lash Studio. I do individual mink lashes that
Okay.
that could last up to like 3 months, as long as you get regular refills for every 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'm located in Stone Mountain, Georgia, in K-Style Salon.
Okay.
So business is doing great. So I'm lifting and lashing at the
Lifting
same time.
and lashing and speaking.
And speaking, open up my mouth, and I love it because I'm able to speak to my clients.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's 2 hours or an hour and a half, regardless if they're getting a refill or a fill-in, for me to pour into them.
Absolutely.
And they look forward to coming to their appointment.
Well, I'm glad because you're motivational.
Yes.
So you're inspiring people as you're beautifying
and I can't
them.
help it. I
Right,
just
because
start
your story is one that you got to tell.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, we want to follow you. We want to continue to support you. And then, of course, we want to possibly come get our eyelashes done. So how can we come to see you?
Okay, so you can follow me on diamondminks.com to schedule an appointment.
Okay.
Or my personal page is at Tanisha Renee. Also on Facebook, Tanisha Renee. And I'm also hosting a women's brunch, Mother's Day brunch, excuse me, at the end of May. So all that information will be posted as soon as possible as well.
So please make sure we go on and we follow her and we do all of that, okay? Thank you so much for coming
My pleasure.
on.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
You're watching A Talk with Armani.
Yay! Welcome back to A Talk with Armani. So it's the time of the show where I have DILYARA here with me, and we're going to do our Let's Talk segment. Hi, DILYARA. Hey. So normally we have to fish around for something to talk about, but now our show has evolved, and we've got people that's actually giving us hints on what to say, you know, hoping that we don't go off into terrorism again.
Right.
But,
how do we land there?
Yeah, we always land on terrorism. It must be because you're Middle Eastern. But anyway, the young lady that we just had on the show, Toneshia, she touched on some things, and I think that what I wanted to really kind of circle back to was the abuse and the fact that there are so many different kinds of abuse and I think there's a lot of people that may be suffering and being abused that are not aware.
Yeah,
that
they don't
they're
even
being
know
abused.
that they're being abused.
I really didn't know that I was in. I call it an abusive relationship because I felt that I was getting beat down and beat down and beat down and beat down, but I was able to be, once I realized it, once I took that power from them, then it was like, oh, okay, I'm not taking it anymore, and that's that. And it kind of changed. The tables changed. So I don't think when I say that, I don't mean to take away from anybody's pattern or whatever they were abused from. I don't mean to take from it. But I know how it can be when you get kind of pigeonholed in a way where you're constantly taking something or you're constantly being that battering iron or that whatever punching bag, even if it's mentally, if somebody's constantly talking to you nasty, saying stuff to you nasty, trying to mess with your self-esteem, berating you, and you just take it, you just don't argue, you don't say anything, you kind of take a position of quiet, and then it becomes the point where they escalate and you kind of de-escalate because now you're feeling, oh my God, I'm being sucked into this. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get in control of it, which I thank God that I had enough sense to do that, it can go to a place where you don't want it to go.
Yeah.
So I think that people need to realize if something's happening in your life that you don't like, that you need to speak about it. You need to talk about it. You can't internalize things. You can't keep it all in because it can then blow up into something even worse.
Well, I think like we come from and I think maybe my generation was the last generation of that where everything was kept at home. Mm-hmm. So you weren't supposed to talk about it because like that's our privacy of our home. Like you're not supposed to go tell people that your husband beats you.
Right.
Or you know what I mean, vice versa. So I think that people didn't heal. And now we're in a time where we're going, no, you have to talk about everything and get everything off your chest and, do the counseling and, do the therapy and go through it, where I think that before it wasn't just, it was looked at differently.
Well, I think, not to take away from your point, I think it's a little deeper. I think not even necessarily talking to someone. I'm thinking about the conversation that you have with yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm 47 years old. And I've gone through a lot of things, a lot of stuff. So a lot of things that happen in my life, I kind of shrug off, like, it's not that deep. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to blow a gasket about it. I had a stroke when I was 43 years old, so for real, there's nothing. I mean, I was to a point where I could not talk for a whole week. I lost complete control over the right side of my body. So when you go through something like that, any of these other little things that come about, even as small or as big as they are, you kind of put things in category. But are you going to die from that? Then it's not worth going all crazy about. Mm-hmm. Is it going to kill you? Then it's not worth going all crazy about. But I think that what we have to do, if it's something that's going on in your life that's not making you feel good, you're not happy, it's making you feel other than what you feel as though you should, you have to stop and classify it and address it. Because regardless if you seek outside help or not, I think a lot of things can start with us identifying the problem.
Yes. I mean, I agree. We do have to identify the problem of what's happening. I don't know. I just think that before it wasn't so much talked about, so it's hard for people to identify that now.
But you know how you feel. But you know how somebody makes you feel.
Right.
You know that if you are sitting in the house and somebody's calling you dumb or stupid or goofy or crazy or whatever, you know if that's something that either you say, oh, they just playing, and you can shrug it off, or if it makes you feel some type of way.
Yes.
You know if it does.
Yes, you do know if something's hurting you, of course, and you have to have a conversation within yourself. But if that person's a part of your life and, you're nagging today and everybody goes, oh, like emotional abuse. Mm-hmm. Oh, everybody has problems, right?
Yeah.
That's what most people think. They don't think they're getting emotionally abused. They just think everybody has an issue.
Right.
And no human being's perfect.
Right.
Well, at least he's not hitting me.
Yeah.
And then that's the next play that goes into your, like, we're in a healthy relationship.
Right, because he's not hitting me.
Yeah.
So how does that become the qualifier? Because you're not getting a black eye, you know, but he's doing all these other things, or your spouse is doing all these other things to you, you say that that's not an abusive relationship. I mean, I've witnessed, and you know, it's not something that I went through personally, but I've witnessed where somebody say, well, I won't put my hands on you, but they'll just call you every name under the book.
Yeah.
They will try to mentally mess with you. I mean, I've actually seen people break down and cry, stressed out just from the words. And you look at them from the outside like, well, if that was me, I would just bust the bastard upside his head. And I said, yeah, I would just bust him upside his head, you know, because I'm not gonna go through all that. But when it is you,
And you love that person.
it's not as easy to pick that bed up and brain them.
Yeah, because you love that person, and that person is making excuse. Like, I was in a abusive domestic relationship. I don't consider myself a domestic survivor, maybe because I just never understood. Because I think there's levels to what happens in a relationship.
Right.
We were just teenagers, and we were in love, and we were passionate, and like Chris Brown and Rihanna, and we fought.
Right.
You know what I mean? It wasn't
Right.
like I was getting hit, but I think that when you're young, you don't know how to express all your emotions.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's your.
I mean, I think all of us, you know what I mean? Because we got all this energy. Because, I mean, it was plenty of time when I was just like, oh, for real? Bam!
We're gonna fight. We're just gonna
You know what I
fight.
mean? And then you look at somebody and then, you know, what you fitting to do? 'Cause what, you get ready to hit me? Are you serious? You know what I mean?
And I
Like,
always
you
say
do
there's
that.
no excuse
That's
for
when you was
especially
younger,
a man to
you
hit a
know,
woman.
But now, today, it's to a point where we on a time where it's not even so much. Here's the harsh reality of today. The harsh reality of today is you call somebody out their name, they might come back with a bat, a gun, a knife. You know what I mean? Names is leading to physical violence.
Yes.
Words are not stopping at words. People, when we used to be able to argue and then go to our individual corners, come back and just be like, you know what? I was wrong, you was wrong, whatever. That's not happening anymore. What's happening is people are putting fisticuffs, knives, guns, and everything, and that's where the problem is coming at.
Well, I think we also have to look at our men. Like these generations, before these new generations of guys who can talk about their emotions, who can cry, who can do all these things. Men before that weren't supposed to do any of that.
Absolutely.
So they don't know how to deal with the emotions in their own
Well, it wasn't that they
self.
weren't supposed to do it. It was just unheard of.
Yeah, and it's embedded.
Right.
Don't cry.
Absolutely.
I do it to my nephew right now.
Right.
Don't cry. You're a boy. And then I catch myself like, why can't he cry?
Because he has to be able to be in touch with his emotions.
Right, why can't he
Absolutely.
cry?
Well, thank you so much once again
Thank
for
you.
coming on and sounding bored with me. All right. Okay. Thank you, DILYARA. Yay, DILYARA. We'll be right back.
You're watching A Talk with Armani.
Welcome back to A Talk with Armani. So thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I had a wonderful guest, Toneshia, who I really want you to go on and follow her. Go to my website if you weren't able to get her Instagram information, but I want you to follow her. She really shows a story of strength. And for someone to survive not only an abusive relationship, but a horrific car accident and just kind of turn her whole entire life around and then share her story with people, anyone with an ear that's willing to hear, I think it takes a tremendous act of courage. So please make sure you go on and you follow her, as well as do an evaluation of your own life. If there's something going on inside your life that you don't like, regardless of what it is, whether or not it's on the job, is at home, is at school, if somebody is saying something to you or doing something to you that doesn't make you feel good, that makes you feel a certain type of way, then you need to address it. You need to get in front of it and deal with it. You don't want it to progress to something worse. Until next time, stay safe.